We are on a turning point of a great opportunity for the entire world. If we're able to flip Syria from the Russian and the Iranian camp into the Western camp, Syria is going to play a vital role in today's world.
For the past 50 years, it's been part of this al-Assad regime. Constant bloodshed, constant civil war. 6 months ago, there was this overthrow of that president. They're being recognized. Sanctions are being lifted. You took congressmen there with you for a visit.
The second I landed in Damascus, I had tears in my eyes. I looked around, I said, now is the time when I can go back finally to Syria and help Syrian. So we went to the palace, we sat with the president, and we were very amazed by what President Shara said. We had enough wars. We want to sit down and see how we can strategize to strengthen our ties. I mean, when we put the American flag everywhere, people were so happy. They're welcoming the idea. They woke up. This is why President Trump said, now is the time to give them a chance.
Why does this mean so much to you? And why are you the guy to make this happen?
As Syrian descent, a Syrian origin, I wanted to look at how could we help the whole world by turning the country into a prosperous country. I want to see Syria a major hub for AI, for innovation, for technology, for education. In 2007, I decided to run away from that dictatorship. I had goals, I had vision, I wanted to build my family, to create a better future for my kids. We have to leave a legacy. I mean, success is not only in business and money. It's truly to leave a legacy behind you. This is how we're changing the world. This is how we're shaping the new world.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is...
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.
Hi, it's Brian Rose from London Real. You probably know that we've just recently been re-platformed on YouTube after 25 months completely in the dark. The truth is, I really need your help. What I really need you to do is click on that subscribe button right now, like this video, and maybe even leave a comment or share the link with friends. We're really fighting against an algorithm that's tried to keep us quiet for so long. And the more subscribers we have, the more people watch our content, the better guests we can bring you, the better content, and we can continue transforming lives. We've been doing this for 14 years now. I want to do this for another 14 years, but I really need your help. So click on that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment, share this, and we're going to continue to bring you more and more great content. Thank you. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Tarek Namo, the American-British-Syrian entrepreneur, geopolitical advisor, and international public figure. You serve as co-founder of the American-Syrian Chamber of Commerce, the board director of the Syrian American Alliance for Peace and Prosperity, and managing partner of Richmond Hill Capital, a cross-border wealth and real estate firm operating across the US, UK, and Middle East. With a background in counterterrorism and geopolitical risk, you've advised hedge funds and policymakers on strategic capital deployment and post-conflict recovery. Recently, you led the first post-war economic delegation to Syria, helping influence the lifting of US sanctions and opening the path towards stabilization, reconstruction, and reintegration with global markets. You believe that now is a turning point, a historic opportunity to rebuild the country, support its people, and reintegrate Syria into the global economy through trade, infrastructure, and dialogue. Tarek, welcome to London Real.
Thank you very much for having me today. It's a great honor for me.
I'm so excited to dive into this topic. And
Thank
so let's just jump right in. What is happening right now in Syria, and why does it matter to the world?
It's mattered a lot. We are on a turning point of a great opportunity for the entire world. Having a stable Middle East, it means a lot for the whole world. After a decade of conflicts and endless wars, we've seen a major shift in the American policy from 1980s Bush era to today's our President Donald Trump, where we're looking only to have peace through strength. Syria plays a vital role in today's time because it's located in the middle, in the heart of the Middle East. It's connected between all the neighboring country. So Syria, we look at Syria as a swing state. If we're able to flip Syria from the Russian and the Iranian camp into the Western camp, it will be a tremendous success, and it will be great for our American national security interest. So Syria is going to play a vital role in today's world.
It's fascinating because if you look at Syria on the map, you know, geopolitically, it's in such an important place. You know, it's on the Mediterranean on one side, it borders Iraq and Turkey, and it's really in the middle. And yet, for the past, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's been this part of this al-Assad regime. Bashar, which was the last ruler, and then his father before that. And to most of the world, quite frankly, it's just looked like a big mess, you know? Constant bloodshed, constant civil war, and, you know, it just, people look at it and they don't even know what to make of it. 6 months ago, you know, there was this overthrow of that president. Now we've got this new president, Ahmad al-Shara, and this looks like a whole new rebirth. And every day, Tarek, I see a new announcement coming out of Washington or out of London where they're being recognized, sanctions are being lifted. You took Congressman there with you for a visit. It's all happening so fast. And yet I think a lot of people don't understand what's happening and don't understand the possibilities. I love how you said swing state. That's a great way of looking at this, because if this can, for the first time in 50 years, become, you know, a prosperous place and a pro-Western place, it changes the whole dynamic of the Middle East, doesn't it?
You've said it perfectly fine. It's a new birth for Syria. So the whole world witnessed in December the falling of Assad. Syria, it's the oldest civilization in the world. It's Damascus is the oldest city in the world.
In the world, right? 3,000 plus years of crazy history, right?
Such a diverse culture where all religions and culture lives together side by side. But unfortunately, Syria have suffered a brutal dictatorship for the past 54 years. A lot of people paid their lives. They paid, they paid their life. They paid life of their families. They had to migrate. 9 million people migrate to other countries. So the past 15 years have been absolutely astonishing for all the Syrian. But today in December is a new Syria have been born. Unfortunately, through the dictatorship time, Syria was a very complex country for all the neighbors as well. It served temporarily as a proxy for Iran, and we were looking at multiple ways on how to end the era of Assad. As you know, Syrian descent, the Syrian origin, I wanted to look at how could we help the whole world by turning the country into a prosperous country. We have a lot of Syrian figures. Steve Jobs, he's a Syrian descent. We have many other people, successful, very famous, successful people came from Syria. So we're looking to restore the theme, the original theme of Syria. And, with the help from President Trump, he looked at it, and after multiple conversation with his administration, they decided, said, it will be in the best interest for American national security interests, is to find ways how we can collaborate with the current interim government, which they have been doing the right steps, and we've been very happy with all the steps that they've been taking so far. They've been in charge since December, about 6-7 months, and all the outcomes have been very positive. A lot of engagement with the current administration. President Ashara, he opened up actually the country, said we want to collaborate, we want to work with the American, we want to work with the West. We want to find ways how we can build the nation again. We suffered all these wars and civil wars. We're looking on how not only rebuilding the country, we want to rebuild the public of Syria. We want to rebuild the people in Syria. They've been heavily sanctioned, a brutal war, and the Assad was creating a lot of violence in Syria. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm very happy to deploy the first American flag on Damascus terminal after 17 years being away from Syria.
And why you? You were born there, and you spent time in London, you spent time in America, in Florida. Tell me about, your experience of Syria. What's it like to grow up there, to be there? Why does this mean so much to you? And why are you the guy to make this happen?
Well, I left Syria in 2007. I decided to run away from that dictatorship. But looking into the Syrian people, I learned a lot from the Syrian. They're a very resilient community, diverse. But unfortunately, the environment that the dictator have created in Syria, it wouldn't allow any entrepreneur or any successful mind, there is no healthy environment there. So I decided to leave to London, and I moved in 2007. When I came to London, I realized how the global mind works, and that was really fascinating for me. I learned how to turn challenges into opportunities. Then I decided to move. After quite some time in London, I decided to move to the States. Got married with my wife, I have kids, and I established my first business. With time, I learned that economy and diplomacy are the same face, two faces for the same coin. And that gives you a lot of perspective on how you're gonna achieve legacy in this world. So why Syria? Syria, my root came from Syria. And I still have a great place in my heart. Looking at the Syrian people, they suffered a lot. It's time to step in. It's time to do something right. It's time to fight all the false media, all the hidden agenda against, what's happening in the Middle East. And one of the greatest things that encouraged me to move forward and start, explore other ways to help the Syrian people in Syria and collaborate with our administration in the States is having the right administration. Our current administration is completely different than the previous one. The previous one was built on supply more weapons, start more conflict, start more wars. With the current government, they're trying, with the current administration, President Trump, he wants to stop war. He wants peace. He doesn't want conflict. He's a businessman. When you understand economy is all about creating opportunities. We don't like conflict. We avoid it in business. Yeah. I mean, you're a business person.
Yeah.
So that encouraged me to say, you know what, we have to step in now. And even ending the conflict in Syria, it's a huge advantage for American interest. Without moving any boots on the ground, without shooting any bullet, diplomacy, economy, we flipped it to our camp very easily. So it's very achievable, and I'm very happy about what we're facing today. It's history in the making.
Clearly there's a lot of people that are interested in that area. And so we've seen, Russia had a lot of bases there. They were projecting a lot of power, even helping, Assad keep his power with a lot of airstrikes and things we saw happening. Obviously, Iran was projecting power there in many different ways. And so there's still people that they don't want it probably going into allegiance with the West because it's such a strategically located place. And so I'm sure there's people right now that kind of want to keep the West out. And so there's a lot of conflicting interests because it's just an incredible place. It's got 25 million people, I believe. It's got natural resources like gas. It's strategically and honestly just an incredible place where, probably what happens in Syria would bleed out to everything else in that Middle East. It's also a historic opportunity, and this has already been talked about, for potentially signing these Abraham Accords with Israel. And many nations have already signed that. Famously, the UAE did, and Jordan and all these other places. And when something like that happens with such a major player in the Middle East, you could see that causing all the other major players along with that, which would just establish more and more peace in that region. But there's still a lot of hurdles because a lot of people want to project power on that country. It must be frustrating to come from a place where everyone's trying to control it.
Correct, absolutely correct, but it's a bit too late. Time has run out for them. One of the major things I try to shine a light on, look at the Iranian and the Russian try to control Syria, Yemen, and Lebanon. Look what's happening in these three countries. And look at the GCC countries. Look at Qatar, look at UAE, look at Saudi Arabia in the American camp. Do you see the differences? Do you see the differences between even its own people? I think the Syrian today, more than ever, are awake and they realize they missed on too many opportunities. That's why they want to correct it today. And this is why I've always been great to feel American and British. There is a lot of changes in the Middle East. It's going to happen, especially precisely for Syria. Syria is going to be the new hub for innovation, for technology, for education. So the Syrian people are really excited about the new chance and the new opportunity. I mean, if you go to Syria, you see American flags everywhere. You see President Trump everywhere. Everyone was happy about how the diplomacy and how the communication and how the relationship it's opening up with the West now. I was surprised being in Damascus, engaging with the public on the street and talking to them. They're so excited and happy. And that makes me happy too. I mean, all the Russian and the Iranian airstrike and all these years of fighting and killing and violence, we came in without any fights, without any troops. I didn't have to carry a gun with me to go to Syria. I mean, even the congressmen, we went there, we were, hosted by the people, everyone was happy. So that gives you a perspective on how things, like anyone on his right mind, he can see the differences. Look at GCC, we love Dubai, we look at Abu Dhabi, we look at Doha. I mean, the world is changing and it's time for the people to change their thinking and look at the neighbors. Even with a neighboring country, like Israel. I have a lot of Jewish friends in the States, I have a lot of Israeli friends. I mean, we are the new generation, we're looking for peace. We want to end these old conflicts and hates. We don't want it to exist even around us. And we're very blessed today that we have two administrations, one in Syria and one in the States, that are agreeing on the same thing. Time to end hate, time to end wars. We need a prosperous world, we need a peaceful world. We need our new generation to be innovator. I mean, we are witnessing the AI, the technology, the whole thing is changing. The world is changing in a fast way that the human mind cannot even comprehend how fast it's going. We can't live in the past anymore. So we're all excited for the new changes.
When I listen to you talk about this, Tarek, it almost is like when we fast forward 50 years, we'll look back on this time and we'll see war as an anachronism, some outdated concept that doesn't suit us anymore. And unfortunately, you get these wars, and sometimes these holy wars that seem to be rooted 1,000 years ago. But then when you look at a Dubai or an Abu Dhabi, or you look at, like you said, a Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Bahrain, and you think, well, look at these places, incredibly prosperous. Citizens are lively, raising their families with all of this hope of the future. And you think, well, wait a second, why can't we be like them? And you said, Brian, Damascus is Dubai 30 years ago. You said that to me. Look at the potential. We've already seen the examples in the region. Or you can be a place that's just dominated by these war efforts. And where would you rather be? In Yemen and do that? And the crazy thing, Tarek, about economic prosperity is that it awakens people, doesn't it? And when they see that, they're like, wow, these are possibilities. I can be independent. I can take care of my family. I can choose peace. Without that, you're kind of at this low level of energy where, okay, let's have conflict. Let's fight with the other. And it feels like this is an incredible time to be like, okay, now it's time for Syria to come into its own. Absolutely. And all the stars are aligned.
Absolutely. Economical prosperity will end ideologies. Ideologies that build on manipulating religions and using it as a weapon to gain power. That's the enemy of the people. And unfortunately, we've seen many areas that have been hijacked by certain extremists, and we need to end that. And that's what we're trying to work on. We're trying to change the narrative for the new generation. We're trying to awaken their conscience. Tell them, you have to realize the danger of these ideology. But how would we do that? Through making the generation realize that they are on a mission daily to build, reconstruct, innovate, rather than sit down and starting all these scary and very dangerous ideology. So that's our mission today. Our mission is to invest in youth. Our mission is to invest in the new generation. I think that will change the entire structure of the Middle East, and it will be a great example, just what you said. I mean, whoever cannot see the differences between the example of
Investment Club. Today, I consider it the best investment that I've ever made. We get 4 projects presented a week by their associated CEOs. Personally, I'm completely blown away by the quality of these projects, and I know of nowhere else where I would be given this same opportunity. Each week that passes, I feel more appreciative of the fact that I'm a member of this group. The vibe was just tremendous. Everybody's on the same wavelength. We just clicked. Everybody listened to each other, enjoyed their company. It was just magical, magical. Take action. Don't take my word for it. Due diligence you need to do. And I really hope that someday down the road I see you in the club. It far exceeded expectations, without question.
GCC countries and Yemen, he'll be blind. I mean, he will be out of his mind. But again, we're very excited about what's going to take place.
Some big moments that have happened over the past few months. I think one of the biggest ones was when President Trump was on his visit to Saudi Arabia and he was spending some time with MBS. He was introduced to the new president of Syria. And I don't know if that was scheduled, but they shook hands, they took a picture. At the time, there were sanctions on Syria, and all of that hadn't changed. And then they have a great picture with President al-Shara, and then all of a sudden, just things started moving and things started happening. And now every couple days, I see a brand new announcement. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is inviting foreign ministers of Syria to come to Washington, D.C. You see all of these British 2 days ago, now has normal relations with Syria. It's all moving really fast, and it seems to really be congruent with what the Trump administration wants for the Middle East and for the world. Like you said, economic prosperity, end the wars, everybody wins.
I mean, one of the best things that makes America great is the way for the public to engage with their elected official. And that's what paved the way for the visit for President Trump with President al-Shara. It wasn't scheduled, but while he was in Saudi Arabia, he said, yes, I would like to meet with him. So he flew same time to Riyadh, and they met together. But prior to that, there were few steps happened down the line that kind of paved the way or created the roadmap to arrive to this event. So February, I was in Washington, D.C. I was contacted by one of our Syrian community, Dr. Tarek Namo, from the SAP organization, Syrian American Alliance. And he explained to me, he said, look, it's a great opportunity now. It's time to act. And I agreed with him. After being away from the Syrian community and being focused on the business. And he said, how can we pave the way? How we can help the Syrian today? So coming from a business background. I've always learned, in my business, in our Richmond Hill Capital company, we learned how to acquire a distressed project and, revitalize these assets to create opportunities. While people see it, they don't agree on it, or they think, no, it's not going to work. So we learned how to create opportunities, how we turn conflicts into an opportunity. So we sat down, we built a strategy how to contact our elected official, and one of them was Congressman Corey Mills for the state of Florida. So I contacted him, and we met together. We had great relationship before, and he's very informed about Middle East policy. He used to be in Iraq. He's an ex-veteran. He fought in Iraq. He knows most of the leaders. He knows about the politics, all the foreign affairs politics about the Middle East. So it was a great timing when I asked him. I said, what do you think of Syria? So he gave me a lot of insight, and I told him, would you please come with me to Syria? Let's go on a finding fact mission. And I was shocked when he looked at me and said, I will do it, Tarek. I mean, your elected official will turn at your face and tell you, yes, I will go to this danger zone country, people are afraid to go to. He said, I'll do it. And when I looked at him, I said, are you sure? He said, yes, I will go with you to Syria. It's part of our duty. It's our American national security interest. I want to see what's happening in Syria and make sure, we're not being a victim of the false media. And I said, okay, great. I left that day and I called my wife and I said, do you think he was really honest with me to go to Syria? She said, of course, I've always been honest with you. Why wouldn't he be? So a few days later, I contacted members of the SAP organization and I said, Congressman Corey Mills invited us to go to Congress. And he gave us a great tour around, sat down with us, gave us a lot of insight about what was happening in the Middle East, even things that I wasn't aware of, even that I'm Syrian. So a few days later, we decided to contact him and say, let's go ahead and schedule a delegation, an official delegation to Syria. He agreed. And luckily, we had Congressman Marlin Stutzman as well. We contacted him and he said, I would be happy to go to Syria. He's a very religious guy. He said, I would like to see the churches. I would like to engage with all the Baptists in Syria, because we have a lot of false information being published on the media. All these information was false. So we said, okay, we organized the time and we said we're going to take off. We met Speaker Johnson the day before. He was aware that they were a trip is going to go to Syria. And the reason why we did that, because it was going to go on the news and President Trump is going to read about it. Right. One of the things I learned about the president, that every morning he has to get briefing on the news. He watches the channels. What type of propaganda being broadcasted today. Right. So we decided to take off. We took off from DC. We headed to Damascus. The second I landed in Damascus, I had tears in my eyes. And I am a person who quite difficult to have tears in the eyes. I looked around, I said, now is the time when I can go back finally to Syria and help Syrian, and dictatorship Assad cannot even go back. So we got off the plane. I mean, it was so emotional for me. Even the two congressmen, they were looking at me and they talked about it. They saw how emotional. So we jumped on a car. I was honored to deploy the first American flag. It was one of my dreams, just to give the people perspective on where you can be. I have a large audience following from Syria. They always watch how successful in business and that I have my family and my kids. That's what they want. But unfortunately, the civil war prevented all these goals for them. So that was a new gate, new Damascus gate for the Syrian to look at where we could be if we go to the Western camp. So we had a great time. We went on a tour. We looked at how cities were destroyed and how, I remember my wife, she was going into one of the buildings and apparently it was a school, and she pulled the test exam for one of the students that was under all the rocks. She pulled it out and I still have a picture of it. She looked at it and it was all written in Arabic. And one of the questions was, what does the police forces do for you? And her answer was protection, when there were no protection whatsoever for them. I mean, it was either you agree with this president, Assad, or you're dead. And not only you and your family and everybody. How can you operate in such an environment? So after that, we headed back and we had a meeting with President Ashara in the presidential palace. Great meeting, and the conversation was very inspiring. To see your congressman sitting with the president of the country where you came from. I looked at it, it was very emotional for me. I mean, how, the best nation in the world, America, having their elected official going and checking what's happening on the ground. Prior to the visit with President Assad, we went to all the churches. We went to 2 churches in Syria. We engaged with, the top Christian leaders, and we were surprised by what he said. He said, we're very happy, we're secure, we don't have any issue here. The interim government, we can tell they're trying to do what they can to protect our churches, to protect the public.
Because there's lots of religions in Syria, right?
It's a very diverse country. We have Druze, Shia, Muslims, Christian. I mean, it's very diverse. And all these people, they live side by side. I mean, you can go to a building, you can see Muslim, Christian, Druze, Alawi, all type of religion. They're all in the same building. They live together. They're like family. And that's what makes Syria a very unique culture. And we want to restore this culture. Unfortunately, dictator Assad was manipulating these minorities and manipulating the religious people and make them fight each other.
That's how you control them.
That's how we divide and conquer. So this is why he lasted that long. This is why he lasted 15 years after the civil war. But luckily he's out of it now. People are more excited to be back together. I mean, they're flying from all over the world. If you want to go fly to Syria, probably it's one of the most expensive airline tickets right now.
Really?
All the airlines are full, all the planes are full. I mean, they have coming from Europe, Turkey, GCC countries, and hopefully they will open a lot more as well.
And so that was your visit. Anything else that you want to talk about with the congressman surprised?
Well, the congressman was surprised about a lot of things, especially listening to President Ashara, given the fact that he had a tough history and people were talking about it all the time. So we went to the palace, we sat with the president. He was a very pragmatic guy, sat down, and one of the things that the congressman told him, he said, I would like to have this conversation. I want to take the presidency away. I want to take my US official away. We want to talk here to see how we can collaborate, how we can make sure the Syrians are going to thrive today. It's the rarest chance they're going to have is today, how we can collaborate. And we were very amazed by what President Shara said. He was very open to the American and Western camp. He said, we want to collaborate. We want to build the Syrian. We don't just want to build Syria. We had enough wars. We want to sit down and see how we can strategize to strengthen our ties. And that was, amazing when we heard it. One of the other things, we talked about was the relationship with the neighbor countries and Abraham Accord and the peace agreement. And I heard President Shara, he was telling Congressman Corey, he said, we want Syria to be a safe place. It will never be a country that will create any danger to any neighbor country. And I've always sent a signal that I'm ready to shake hands. The Syrians are ready to shake hands and creating peace. We don't want conflict. He was very direct, and you can tell he was very honest about it. And we've seen a lot of steps today that have been taking place towards these things. I mean, he ended the Iranian presence, which was the viral role in creating all these wars, and October 7th is horrific. And he ended any presence for Hezbollah militia in Syria. If you go to Syria now, you will not find any of these people are existed in Damascus or in Syria. 2 months ago, they were heavily present in Syria. So you see a lot of differences happening. He stopped all all the weapon supplies that are coming from Iran to Lebanon to fight Israel, he stopped that too. So we've seen major steps that's been taken by him. It gives us the right signal, say, okay, he's doing what we need to do. He's truly working to create a better Syria, better country for the Syrian, allowing the Syrian to have their chance, rather than tell them, I want to go establish, I want to create another war. So we sense that he's a man turning into economy, into prosperity, into an ecosystem that allows the Syrian to thrive again. He doesn't want Syrian to be surviving mode. He wants them to be on a thriving mode. And that was, very optimistic for us. We were very happy. One of the things that I looked when I was in the palace, the presidential palace is built on a hill, and you can kind of see Damascus from that hill. So looking through the window, I couldn't believe the previous Assad, I wouldn't call him even president, the dictator Assad, used to stand on the window looking at the city being bombarded and killing his own people, and he was okay with it. But today is a major change. Today we're seeing optimistic things. Today we're seeing the Syrian, the falling of Assad. We were all nervous. We thought it's going to turn into a vacuum. We said, oh my God, what's going to happen? But this guy came in and he truly united everybody, and he tried to minimize as much as possible any unlikely event to happen in Syria. And that's where we were happy about. And that's where you see Trump administration saying, okay, he's been doing these steps. We got to work with him. We don't want to create another Iraq. We don't want to create another Libya. So we're taking the right steps here. And that's what makes us very optimistic.
Yeah, President, al-Shara is a fascinating person. And I watched a few interviews with him. And, he's clearly got a very important job to do and a very difficult job to do, because so many people would love chaos in Syria right now. And I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm sure the Iranians and the Russians and a bunch of people with interest there would love chaos, because then they can control it again like they did for 30, 40, 50 years. And here's a guy who clearly loves his country because he fought as a rebel trying to overthrow this government for the last 10, 15 years. And now he's there, he's trying to walk that thin line and trying to make sure you can maintain order with a bunch of people in that country with different interests. And historically, if you look at the map, there were lots of different groups with different interests in that country. And obviously he's trying to steer it forward, keep the peace, and build the prosperity.
Correct.
And again, he's got also an incredible history. And again, if you dive into that history, you can focus on certain points. When he was a young man, he said, look, I was a young man who wanted to go ahead and make right in the world. And when he saw the American invasion of Iraq, he said, I'm going to go fight this because it doesn't seem right. I think he learned a lot there as part of Al-Qaeda, and he went to prison, and I think he learned a lot about what he thought was right and what he thought was wrong. And I think he ended up disagreeing with a lot of the mentality at the time in Al-Qaeda, and he spent time there. And it's fascinating to have these people like Congressman Corey that are now, used to be on the opposite side with him, that can now sit in a room and say, okay, how do we take this forward? And I think people can play up parts of his past to try to, again, create that chaos. But what I see is a man who clearly wants a new future, for Syria. And in fact, if you look deeply at him, maybe all of these experiences he had are not liabilities. Maybe they're assets. Because here's a guy who's been there and seen there and done that. He understands the mentalities of what went wrong in the Middle East. And he's the kind of guy that can say, okay, I don't want that to happen. What do you make of all that? Because it's an easy thing for people to grab onto.
Here is what I look at it from that perspective. You're having the biggest assets today. A person like President al-Shara, who actually was on that side, he understood the mentality, and without any pressure, he realized that this is wrong. This is not the right one. At the time, everyone wanted to fight Assad. People would go with the devil just to fight Assad because he was worse than the devil. But for someone like President al-Shara to realize, go on that side and realize this is wrong, this is not right. and someone smart like him to realize it's wrong, it's a major signal. Then he actually was fighting them afterward, even before Assad and before the American or anything. He realized it's wrong and he said, this is not right. Today we learned, based on what Congressman Corey said, we learned that we need to utilize these assets. That's your weapon. We went to Iraq, we fought for years, we didn't achieve anything, and we thought, okay, we want to fight them all. We don't care whether we can utilize them or not. We want to fight them. We want to fight all of them. That was wrong. Look where's Iraq today. Yeah. So actually working with President al-Shara to ending these radicalism is the best thing America and the Western camp can do today. And that's how we have to look at this, not from an emotional perspective. Emotional is weakness. You have to look at it from factual perspective. How can we utilize someone who's been there, he understood the mentality, he realized it was wrong. That's the best thing we can use today to end all the ideology and radicalism in the Middle East or even around the world. So that's how I look at it from my own personal perspective. This is how I analyze things. I'm not an emotional guy. I try to look at these from a factual point. And the facts and the logic says, this is your biggest asset. You shouldn't fight him. You should actually collaborate how to end things in there. So
how does he unite a country filled with people with, diverse interests? Because we know there's people in there that say, well, you're meeting with Americans. And we don't like America. America's always been the worst thing for the Middle East. Wait, you're thinking about talking with Israel? Oh my gosh, that's our arch enemy in the Middle East. What happened to what we used to fight for? And so you've seen, we had a bombing a couple weeks ago, I think in a Greek Orthodox church, and the media kind of grabbed on this narrative to show that, okay, there's still out of control there.
What the London Real Investment Club actually does for you, it gives you the keys to open that door to the inside deals. In the last 3 weeks, I've participated in 3 incredible deals: a layer 2 Bitcoin protocol, an incredible AI protocol. The deal flow is beyond what I expected. I don't think I've ever seen a model like this that just gives average folks the opportunity to be behind the deals, and that's exactly what we've done. Not only that, you get to hang out with Brian Rose every week. And for me, that was huge because I look at Brian as somebody who's not only an expert in the space, and I think is on the leading edge, but just the leading edge of thought with London Real and the work he's doing there. To anyone who's taking a serious look at this, I know it's a big decision. It was a big decision for me and my family, and it is one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I wish you all the best and hope you come join us.
And he's got to try to keep a lot of people happy in a nation that's been tumultuous for, decades. How does he do that?
Well, he has a very tough job to do. And actually, if you look at it, he's surrounded, with all these people that are trying to use anything against him to divide the country. And his ultimate goal is keeping unity. He's focused on keeping Syria united. But one of the things that President al-Shara focus on how we can turn all the Syrian into, he wants to give them the mentality on today is a chance to prosper. We don't want to go in the past. And actually, the Syrian people are more than happy today to shake hands, even with Israel. You've seen the post in the middle of Tel Aviv having all these presidents and saying New Middle East. Yeah. So I posted this on my social media and I said, what do you think? I knew I have a large following from Syrian community in Syria who lives in Damascus. So I posted that. I had close to 1,900 messages. When I filtered this through AI just to see 90% were so happy. We wish this to happen. I still have the data on it. We wish this to happen. We can't wait for it. This is the best thing, we are the new generation. Let's end the conflict. We've been 54 years fighting for the cause, and 80% of the Syrian budget for the past 54 years was going to the army. 80% was funding the army. And every time someone asks, either he disappears or they give an answer, we're fighting for the cause. And the first cause was fighting Syrian. I mean, the first tank went to fight the Syrian. So Syrian people don't want that. They're diverse, and they said, today we want to create peace, we want to prosper. Give us this chance. And we were so happy. We've seen the first Syrian Jewish community in 54 years.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.
Most people will never see this opportunity. Dubai luxury transformation projects have historically delivered 40 to 90% annual returns. That is incredible. These were once reserved only for insiders with access. I spent 15 years on Wall Street, and I learned this: the biggest returns always go to the people who get the call first. Now, you finally can. We've just received a brand new project with major upside potential. Allocations move fast. Click the link, apply now, and speak to my team. This is your chance to see what others never will.